we don't confess our sins one to another anymore. As far as the young people are concerned, the older people, they don't understand me. And as far as the older people are concerned, the young people are too loose. They will have tried this,
You never know how much there's somebody sitting in the congregation wishing that they could be up there having a chance.
With the bigger churches, you're going to find that it's going to be harder. So you have to try to engage them in those activities.
You need to have a realistic mediator, somebody who is willing to listen, not just hear, listen to both sides of it.
And we are for them what we needed when we were that age.
Yeah.
So
I'm Brian.
And I'm Charmian Marie.
And we're the Beatles. Join us weekly. Let's talk about purpose, faith, and expression.
Purpose Audacity is dedicated to sowing seeds of healing, growth, and impact through the sharing of real stories, real thoughts, and biblical truth. Whether it's through conversations with Brian and Charmian Marie or with our specially invited guests.
For God's glory.
This is Purposed Audacity. Thanks for joining us.
Our theme for today in terms of bridging the gap between the older generations and the younger generations for the purpose of kingdom building, right? I want to ask you first and foremost, like, what is your opinion in terms of how that's going? Do you think there's a gap, like, even?
Yeah, I think there is a gap. In every time there's going to be a gap. Because generations typically are defined by their shared experiences and their shared core memories. So there is going to be some division in a sense that what I think and how I see the world is most definitely not going to be how you think and how you see the world. And that will inevitably, of course, cause conflict and a rift. But as a church, we really should have one shared experience of a relationship with Christ. Right. And that is where you need to bind your congregation together. That should be able to overlook, in a sense, those other defining factors for the other generations. If we're not able to keep us together on that standpoint, then I think there might be a problem.
Yeah, I think also it relates to what Karen said, also with the shared experiences. Sometimes also, I would say young people, then they're coming to church. If they don't have anything to do, they're more likely to not stay at church.
Yeah.
So if you don't necessarily give them something to do, if it's to their producer for the equipment, turn on the mic, turn on
like offering. You need something.
If you don't make them feel present in the moment, they're more likely not where to say it. So I think small lesson gap would be to like give young people something to do.
So I want you to stick a pin right there, we go into some solutions, little bit, right? But so you think there's a gap as well?
Sure. A gap. I personally feel like the gap is formed when we forget our main objective. And yes, that's me, I'm real. I always think we should all aim to be, like, what Marcus Darby said, one God, one aim, one destiny. We are all on that journey to head to heaven. We all have one God, and we all have the aim. So many times life is lifing, life happens, and we lose focus. And when we lose focus, our aim is off target. And because of that, everybody is heading in different directions, and we have forgotten the purpose. And I feel like that's kind of like the base of many things in kingdom building, purpose. So I feel once we get back to that point where we're all focused on what is that we're really supposed to be doing, who we're supposed to be worshiping, who's supposed to be getting our time, we won't have such a problem with kingdom. It'll be fair.
And that solid gap that's there. And for me, I believe, I completely agree, because it can't be a coincidence that literally every church you go in, or I don't want to say 95% of churches that you go to, you know, the same gap exists, right? And generally too, by the time persons are about like 22, 23 to about 35, 36, like that age group is missing from most churches as well. Because as you said too, like even, I mean, from growing up as well, like many of them are not engaged, and many of them feel like band-aids have been given to most of the real problems. Like, yo, I don't have money, my bills need to be paid. Yo, oh, pray about it. You know, no, then fine, I'm going to go to a road and try to find a way. You get what I'm saying? So like, how do I then relate to, you know, what's going on in church and stuff like that? So, so in terms of the gap that exists, and again, it's not coincidental and stuff like that, I have also realized too that there's always a, oh, those young people don't listen. Or there's always a, oh, they're attitude. And then on the first side, those old people are too stubborn. And so like, what do you think is the base in terms of the resistance in communication and working together?
So on both sides, I can understand both sides, but both sides don't want to communicate with each other.
No, they don't.
So it's like one side is saying old people are too stubborn, old people are saying young people are too, they're not that much attitude. But then there isn't necessarily a chance for a conversation. Cause like the young people will say, I don't want to talk to her because she'll go on and she this and this. And the old man gonna say the young boy, them don't know it, right? Them don't know it. So like you're gonna have, I always have like disconnect because both sides are deciding in their mind that this is the young people, this is the old people. So I think, what was the question again? I remember the question. Oh, the base.
The friction.
The friction. I think what I said, both parties have decided in their minds and assumed these stereotypes of them. So they're like, I'm not even going to try.
Yes.
I'm not going to try.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it can stem from.
Yeah.
That's where it can stem from.
I think also something that is a source of the friction is that we don't confess our sins one to another anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't. Yeah. So as far as the young people are concerned, the older people, they don't understand me. And as far as the older people are concerned, the young people are too loose. They will try this, but it's like you're not remembering that you were young as well. You were doing some things as well. Yeah, it's just that you haven't said it. It's just that back in the day, there weren't as many cameras to catch you. You didn't have receipts and text messages to come and show the entire church. You didn't have that, right? I'm living under literally a technological microscope that allows you to be more privy to what it is that I'm doing in my personal time.
Yeah, people don't remember when you used to take breaks from church and you come back and it's a youth. And we're like, whoa.
It's like we need to get. It's not even getting back to. We need to begin to foster a culture of actually confessing our sins one to another, letting the young people know that I do understand where you are coming from because this and this happened to me, and because the older generation might not do that, the younger folks see them as uppity and pious and holier than thou. If we were to now actually share our experiences with each other, we'd realize that we have much more in common than we thought.
Right. Yeah. I feel like, sorry to say, I feel like also some of them are not properly versed on how to approach someone, a little person, when they colors in with what they're like through. So if I should come to you and say to you, and this is also something that could be taken from a culturally perspective. If I should go to an adult and say, I'm the crazy and wait for the
music. Yep, music. Not your news. Yep, child.
You know what you can't, child. What you can't, you can't move with it.
There is some amount of judging and not being willing to understand, to listen and understand, And there's also you just not knowing, because you might be able to say, okay, I do see that she is depressed, but what do I say to her? Right. So they're like, I feel like there's different stages at which some of the older generations are at where they don't know how to talk to this person, so them just leave it alone. And you have the other ones who don't in your ears, I'll say, why you do that? Why you do that? Mind you, you can reprimand someone, but what do you do afterwards to make sure that you build them up and push them back onto the path that they're supposed to head on? So I feel like there's many events.
I think jumping on that in a sense is there aren't, coming back to the communication aspects of it, there aren't enough actual Christian mothers in the church. And what I mean is not the overarching Christian mother, like your pastor or your first lady might mean, but an actual relationship. So I know that from my perspective, my mother, she adopts so many persons in the church.
Yeah.
And she will sit down and she'll call them and she'll ask, hey, how are you doing? How is the baby? You need this and this and that. And she'll go out and she'll buy things. And she will keep up with persons, and she juggles all these individuals. In our church, a lot of persons do that for individuals.
Right.
I think sometimes we focus too much on group and just the entire congregation, when really they say the chain is as strong as its weakest link.
It's a one-on-one thing.
So you have to get down to the one-on-one. And as Mandy said, sometimes it's a difficulty knowing how to approach somebody. And I'm gonna say this, older folks, if you're waiting on us to approach you, it's probably not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen, because really and truly, children are taught to speak when spoken to. That's not going to suddenly change as soon as we reach teenage years or adulthood. We're just going to jump up and, oh my gosh, my life is falling apart. So let me talk to you, please. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to be the case. And with the culture that we already have, it's going to be difficult for us as young persons to do so. It would be easier for us. From my own perspective, it'd be easier for us if we are approached and then a conversation gets started. But until then, the rift is going to continue.
Here's where I really want to jump in, because these are some very juicy points. And I definitely agree with and get what you guys are saying, right? But even in relation to that last point, right? There are a lot of young people though who, so when an older individual approaches them, like, no man, let's talk, kind of thing. You're not my mother, or you're not my I don't need to talk to you, and so honestly, those things are a turn off, right? And then also sometimes, cause just like fine, we're saying that fine, young people are not going to just suddenly approach an older person and stuff like that. There's some older persons who feel like they'll be overstepping a boundary in trying to help to raise you because they believe your parents should have done that, right? And so it's an awkward conundrum of perspectives and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if we are truly united from a place of love and I see you falling, let me catch you, or kind of a vibe. And so I want us to get into solutions, right, where we can speak, because it's one, everybody can speak about like the communication issue and stuff, but like I want it to be that after this episode, persons can understand like, hey, I'm having this issue in my church. How can I actually like really work on fixing this, right? One of the things, and it kind of hinges on one of your points, I believe that a lot of churches, as much as we focus so much on, this person got saved, let's rack up the numbers, happy, joy, but what
It's like a corporate meeting that stocks and the share just going on. Yeah.
like where's the discipleship? Like where's the program that's going to walk this person through and say, yo, like, yeah man, as much as I spoke to you about like it being sunshine after you accept Jesus, it's actually like a lot of torrential rain. Isn't me? Like, and let's like talk about it, because again, and that's not how we foster relationships where the young person will feel safe in the space. To actually say, all right, cool, say, yo, my school fee need for pay, and your mom can't find it right now, or even if it's not financial, like, yo, something else. But active discipleships through, like, even if it's not like a formal program in the church, but as you said, your mom adopts, presidents, and just takes an interest in, so for me, I think the question is, no, the church's culture. Like, how do we then foster that or facilitate that, or say, hey, yo, so you can talk to young people there, kind of a vibe. So yeah, so I just wanted to like toss that out there in terms of like one of the suggestions, but like, y'all take the first.
Yeah, helpful from the examples from our church, because we have
So
activities that include everybody.
Yes.
During just discussing in the lobby, we had something that's called the God's Drum. So God's Drum is where persons from the church or anyone that wants to donate food items, toiletries, and so on. And basically anybody that's in need, I can say,
Really and truly. Whenever and from wherever they come from.
give them a little goodie bag so that they can get that. Another thing is employment. You can go around and ask us, everybody. We have quite a few entrepreneurs at church. So saying something like, oh, someone seeking employment, and we're this, anyone that's hired. Like creating a community. I said, it takes something, right? I mean, to raise a child is not necessarily just a baby. It's adults, because we're all children here. So we have different things. Can you start?
No, I think so. Our church, right? We have how we try to, I guess, bridge the gap in a way, because we're in our 20s. So the youth at our church right now, they're in like their teen years, like 13, going up to like 18, 19.
Right.
So I don't know how we managed to do it. So when we did a workshop where all of us, the singers and the musicians, with our improve the singing and the coordination of the music and the stuff, right?
Lord.
Right.
Sorry.
So in that workshop, the persons that came, we saw each other enough, because the frequency of you see somebody eventually become friends. We saw each other enough, and we essentially, because seeing each other enough, we somehow build relationships with the teenagers there. Nice. And then through that, and we revamped the youth ministry of our church on like a different level, I guess. Revamped it and tried to bring the youth in there and brought them in there, and we found that through trying to reach them, and you're going to have persons who are going to push back. They're going to be like, yo, talk to me, I don't want their presence. That's all right, brother, do your thing now. I'm not forcing you, right? And you have the others who will join. So we found that through the communication with them and just sitting and talking to them, and them talking to you, you'll find that their true selves come out.
Oh yeah.
So like our youth program now, we have like 15, 15, just different characters. And they're able to flourish in their own way, flourish in their own way, they can be themselves, and they message and call you about whatever is going on.
Like this, because we're in a thing of the union.
Yeah,
So we have first-hand experience with them.
So it's,
and we are for them what we needed when we were that age.
Yeah.
So we understand.
Yeah.
And
That's
we
a-
have been through what they have been.
Yeah.
I think one thing with us is that we just approach everything into love. So once you have that in mind, even if they come to you with the most outlandish things, because trust me, they do.
Yeah, just listen.
A symbol of their trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
not necessarily expect us to give us a but the mere fact that we provide a listening ear is more than enough for them.
A listening ear and a fixed face. That's really it. A listening ear and a fixed face.
They will come with anything. They will text all
Yeah.
times of the day, and because of that, if we should message in the group and be like, "Hey guys, no,
We'll use meeting
yeah, this Friday. It's a problem. No, we have to keep. I remember one day it was raining so hard.
was wrong.
We're like, guys, put your hands. And I was like, no, I don't care that one.
Did they come? Yes, they did.
What can you do? It's
Amazing.
So like bridging the gap in that way is one way too. It's not one engaging that the teenagers. It's not going to be easy because you're gonna get pushback. They're gonna be seen as why you talking to me? But and I said a lot of them are involved in what the church, the production, so they're involved. They feel like they have a place. So some of them want to play, some of them want to sing, some of them are good at singing, some of them they want to be better players, some of them work on the stream, the engineering up there. So like they feel like they have a spot.
Servants.
So yeah, they're in us. That's why I said they need something to do. So the ones who have nothing to do, they're gonna follow and it's gonna leave, and that's just the reality of it. Because I mean they're at school getting
an environment where you're able to nurture the talents and gifts of your not just young people, because you can have Christians that are older people and they can come in, and if you hear them have a little voice on them, train them, sing from the praise and worship team, get them on the rasta. You have somebody that comes in and loves children. We have a Sunday school. We'll be in somebody.
yeah, like make the church for people to use, like for people to use,
Like they're part of the community and not just congregations full of a binge Sunday after Sunday. So, and each gift and talent and job is meaningful as much as the pastor and the reverend. So if your job is to clean the church on the weekends before Sunday service,
say
you
what.
are doing. Well, even not bigger job because you need a clean environment to host everybody. So whether it be cleaning, working in
The stream. Leading the service.
the ceremony, being a mother,
Usher,
being a usher,
being the person in whatever.
that part of this one, this one body, and we all have one aim, which is to flourish,
Feel like
fill up the kingdoms.
I have an interesting question for you, right?
They've all been
So those ideas are amazing, and I'm happy that it's working in your church and stuff. But speaking of church culture and thing, right? So interestingly, I've throughout my lifetime I've been a part of like 9 churches. So I've seen right because of I have an interesting journey. Let's just say that. But saying that to say, so I also was in youth leadership. We also had the digital team. Like so, we've seen a lot of it, right? But I have a question now, right? So what if you are now put to work in the church? You're doing your stuff and whatever, and then but the older generation wants it done a certain way, but the younger generation wants it done a certain way. Where now does that middle ground happen in terms of that point of compromise so that there can be us uniting again in that one purpose?
Well, I think how we have approached it and how we as a church need to approach it, it's that we need to actually assess what is working and what isn't working, and what are the potential options for fixing what isn't working. Sometimes when you have been looking at the same screen for the longest while, you no longer realize, or you remember when Fabrice had a nose blind advertisement? You become blind to the faults in what you are doing. I think sometimes we need to take a step back. As the older generation, they're very much, if it's not broke, why fix it? The younger generation is, it can always be better.
Right.
So bridging the gap is really taking an objective step back and assessing, it might not be broken, but can it be better? And is the better solution actually practical for your church? Because whilst you might want to improve a certain area, can your church budget facilitate that improvement? If you do that improvement, who is going to be there to maintain it? Whilst the church is here for ministry, if you want to improve things, you actually need the infrastructure to support that improvement.
Because persons are, they kind of, I don't mean the curse, but they're kind of lost in the, yes, we're doing it for God, and we want to let the Holy Spirit move. I remember I said to, I think I was saying to Kanye one time, like, if, I think about it like from a music perspective, if the songs have the 4 songs, each chorus, verse, a structure. I think the kind is, wouldn't that technically be our best? Because if we're giving our best in our singing ability, playing ability, and everything technically that would be the ministry. That would be the fruit. That would be the fruit of the ministry. Instead of just a haphazard wild man baby up on the stage, like, you know, like, what am I doing? Yeah, what's happening? You know? So with the, can you say, with the infrastructure, somebody to maintain it, because as you said, our ideas sound great, but there's somebody who has to lead it. So
somebody has to
people will always give suggestions, but they don't want to lead it.
You need to have a realistic mediator, somebody who is willing to listen, not just hear, listen to both sides of it. Because the young persons have a lot of ideas, and you can reject an idea in love. You can do that. And I think sometimes that is also, it comes back to the communication thing. If I'm not going to take advice from you, I'm definitely not going to take criticism from you. So for you to now reject the idea, it'd be best to reject with an explanation, not just a flat out no. Yeah, not just a flat out no. So those aspects of it really, I don't know, something about the church sometimes, it's hard to be objective.
It's always.
I feel like it's because, so I often try not to do this, but it happens sometimes. If you compare a company and church, you have one boss where nobody even them like 80 but don't turn war, them still are doing my same. But I feel like the physical presence of the Lord not there with us, and not necessarily, you know, your back I said, why you doing, why you not doing this, and then calls on different, what's the word I'm looking for?
I'm not sure.
It's on my friends' leadership styles and rules where everyone is okay. I like this person and this person. Always with that person. The next side is like this person and where this person is, they're always with that person. Yes. Perfect.
It's difficult to be objective.
There needs to be open eye to all of it. Because even sometimes they might not make sense when somebody says something, but listen, because this is one way you do kingdom building. You get everybody's opinion and keep members meeting and or meeting and hear the complaints, the suggestions, the advice, whatever it is. And you take them into consideration and you really sit and ponder on some of them and then think long term, because you are leaving this church for generations to come. And you want them to be able to have not just this building, but all the facilities
Yeah.
And the culture that has been sitting in. So you can know from day one, say, you know, Sneakers Church of the Jeans has always been a church that, you know, pick up the old people then in the surrounding communities and carry them to church and drop them on back. You don't want when that set of old people pass away and this set of people that drive the car then probably migrate. They stop. We want to continue building that up. So here's your chance to say, okay, Brendan is coming up after me. Hey, Brendan, this is what I do. On Sunday mornings at X time, I drive around in the surrounding communities. There are 3 senior citizens I usually pick up. Mr. Socks, Mr. Shirt, and Mr. Tie. And they will always be ready at X time. So you can just go in there, pick them up, and you just continue. You have Classic is on because there are always people that are willing to do. You never know how much there's somebody sitting in the congregation wishing that they could be up there having a chance, moderating service, playing the drums.
They're not always going to know what to speak out.
Yes. So this is where you who is in charge, you throw that invitation out and allow them to reject it versus not saying you never do it none at all. So them just sit down there and take up space on the bench.
I think our pastor does a wonderful job of that. She does a wonderful job of that in a sense where and she does it especially with the newer Christians as well. So even if you just got baptized the other day, she's calling you, asking you to come and read the scripture. She's calling you, asking you to come and do the opening prayer. You're very much involved in what scenes. You don't have to necessarily place the work. No, you don't. You really don't. We have our as Mandy had said before on Fifth Sundays, that's Children's Sunday. When I mean children, I mean children. So it's a child that will be coming and doing your opening prayer. And it will be a child who will be coming and reading your scripture. So even if them books shuffle on the word, the congregation corrects and we move on. So all of those levels of involvement and coming back to shared experiences is what we would definitely need. So everybody going through the rounds of the children's church. We had children's church, and when we were done with children's church, we helped with children's church. So we went from being a participant to being a teacher of children's church. And then we came into the regular congregation and then we started assisting with the regular congregation. It's that ability to keep persons hard at work. You need a responsibility and an obligation outside of just the necessity for worship, because you can worship anywhere.
This is so. I'm like discerning what you're saying, but I remember my father was saying that normally, no matter the size of the church, it's normally 20% run the church.
Okay. Yeah, that's correct.
So I was thinking about like Paul and Faith, right? Paul and Faith, that's just a big church. What's the one name? Delphi Davis. The man is always in some different suits, right? So Delphi Davis Church, at the 20% normally run, they have their head administration. So I was thinking to myself, how would you they give the young people something to do in that ministry? Because it's a big church, like thousands of people come there. So I think even with a church like his own, it would be to house different activities with the young people. Like, because I find that the big church people would like to go to big churches because they don't want to be called to do anything.
Oh yeah.
And that's why people avoid the small churches, because they don't want to be called to do anything.
Another man there.
We're anti against his tactics, don't worry. So what happened? That's what happened. So you have to engage young people to be. I know that his church, they have the young people. I think they conduct the service some Sundays.
Yeah.
Or like get them in different activities like football, basketball, whatever it is. I remember Pastor Kirk had this football thing in the community.
Yes, he did.
Like trophy, medal.
Yeah.
At the back of the church, and he tried to engage so I think
the rest of the community,
engaging young people, and because I find that you learn a lot about the older persons once they're playing a sport or so. He didn't know this one guy could run this fast. He didn't know he was this DJ back in the day.
So you don't know why them call him so and so.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah. So you get to experience through those small like football, even food. Even food. Because some churches would say, what if they only come for the food? Brother, why are you worrying up if they come for the food?
How you gonna get them in?
Everybody have to eat our food. So that's what I, because maybe you're probably going to ask that, but with the bigger churches, you're going to find that it's going to be harder. So you have to try to engage them in those activities. Yeah, because...
Or break apart in different ministries.
In a more intimate setting.
Yeah.
So interestingly, so I'm happy that you answered it before I asked, because it's always different for an intimate church versus a bigger church but what I want to come back to before I get to the final question is your mentioning of an organization, right? Now, first and foremost, it's scary towing that line between like it being an organization and a church. Like you don't want to like miss Jesus and stuff, right? But there is beauty in a church learning how to operate effectively with the different parts running, right? And I feel like that is something because so many churches don't want to put that structure in place because we're afraid to cross that line. There are a lot of churches that do not, really embrace a structure totally. But I will say, so the having it run, I don't want to say like an organization, but we're still using that example, allows for what all of you guys are hinting at, which is succession planning, right? And, so literally, fine, Mass Joe, need to get picked up at 6 o'clock in the morning, cool, there's a system in place. Somebody knows that they're on queue for get that done. And we just keep that going on because that has been documented or at least passed on verbally and stuff like that. And so I think, especially in the matter of bridging the gap in terms of the generations and stuff, if we are willing to have a lot of these conversations and also like more structure in relation to this, the bridging of the gap then becomes easier because at least now we're carting out some of the emotions. And a lot of we don't need to go through, because I mean, we're all still human, we're all gonna have our opinions, but if the black and white says so, and whatever, then, all right, cool, make us say we can do this and whatever, and then if a young person is better suited to carry this out and whatever, maybe that will foster kind of saying, okay, cool, I'll learn to work with this young person, or I'll see what idea she can bring to this and whatever. Now, of course, that's an ideal situation. Right? So I'm not gonna try and do the bright eye bushy tail vibe, but at the very least, I know that there are a lot of churches who don't do the succession planning and who don't cling to structure. But honestly, the Lord, I believe, and we know He's not a God of confusion, right? And so if we're willing to understand that He wants His church to run like a living organism and there is a part for everyone to play, then we need to actually be willing to come to the round table and get this done.
That's I think I always say, I said, if Christ had 12 disciples, why can't the church have some sex, subdivision, help? But it's not.
Because I think sometimes some persons are caught up in I guess me for myself, I try not to personalize the disgrace space, me being a musician, me talking to this one youth and then find somebody. I try not to personalize it as in, it's not me that's making this better, right? This is bigger than me. So if I'm supposed to be the one gear in the engine, I'm the one gear in the engine. My piston mash up, I gone, somebody else to come and take the place. So I think persons that try to individualize the situation for them, whereas like it's me always do this, me always said, I think you have the wrong idea.
Yeah.
It can't be me. Like, take away yourself and look at the bigger picture here. Like it's not about you. It's not about you.
That thing as
It's not
well.
about you.
If you are under the impression that you are doing too much, you need to say something. Say something to somebody and actually ask for help.
Ask for help, yeah.
Because as Amanda said, there are persons who would love to get the opportunity to do what is that you are doing, and we would not like for you to become discouraged in doing good because you feel like you have too much on your plate and the church is asking you to do this, that, and the third. You can ask for assistance. when it comes to succession planning, you can take on one of the youth and mentor them to take on one of your positions, and you can delegate responsibilities. Sometimes we definitely leave too much on one person's plate.
Yeah.
And then because of that, when that person steps away, we're now running around like headless chickens with no clue how to do what Sister Shirley always did, because Sister Shirley was the one who always did it.
Right.
We need to be able to ask for help when we have issues and when there's too much on our plate.
Right.
I think that we definitely need to do that.
Right. I definitely agree. And what has really unfolded from this conversation is that it's clear that there are multiple types of gaps when it comes to the generational gaps and also just in the church and kingdom building. And I feel like, I pray that more discussions like this do happen even within churches, so that we'll say, a lot of things need to just be improved, and a few ministries are dead right now. How can we revive that? Like, just all the different discussions and stuff. But I thank you guys for being real about, what you encounter in what feels like a great church congregation and family. So big up your experience right here. But straight up though, so thank you for being real about that. And so I think the last question I'd love to ask, and for each of you, I'd love you to just look at the camera and do your very best to just encourage person, whether someone from the older generation, because I don't want, some people feel demeaned when we say old people, right? So for persons from the older generation, younger generations, whatever, how would you encourage them to, start working on bridging the gap within their own church? And what do you want to encourage them to do? Do you want to tell them to keep going? Just encourage.
Yeah. All right.
So starting.
I guess you get to go first. To the
camera.
the open age one.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I would say is just listen. Give them an ear. And as Kanye said, keep a straight face. Just listen, because they'll come back. And to the younger one, I would say, or I was saying no one.
What goes on your heart?
To the younger one, I would say, you'll come across some older persons that you may think they're hard to speak to, but they might be the person that you need to speak to. So I would say just whenever you can, speak to one or two and just have a laugh. So start with a laugh first. Yeah. I think champions are around the corner, so everybody can kind of relate.
We're on the corner. We're on the bed.
Yeah. It's supposed to be good.
We're on the bed.
Yeah. So I think that's what I would leave.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Something that I would say for the older generation, be quick to listen and slow to speak, slow to become angry, because
James.
you didn't have a manual for life that tells you exactly what to do, when, where, how, and who to say it to, and we don't. So we will definitely need grace and patience on your part. And I would hope that if you are serious about being an active participant in kingdom building, that this is something that you take to the Lord for Him to teach you how to be patient and to extend grace to the younger ones. To the younger ones, I would like to say, throw away the stereotype of what the old person is supposed to be, because a lot of us, we work only on stereotypes, and throw it away and give the older persons a chance as well. You also need to learn to listen. They are not completely outdated. They have wisdom and they have experience, and that should never be counted out, even though it might be from a different time period. You can take the principle from it, even though you might not be able to apply the exact actions. So that would be my word to the younger persons. Throw away the stereotypes, older persons, quick to listen, extend grace and patience.
For me, for the older generation, I would definitely say be who you needed when you were younger and need to love. A bit great. Leave with love. For the younger generation, it's self-peaceling. You are not above reprimanding, but do not allow anyone to take advantage of you. Make sure that you are aware of who you are as you are, and use your discernment to know when people can be a word for you and what make them not to listen always, because one thing about the older generation is that they can offer some very good advice because they have been there before. Been through. Just, put your pride away, so the ego away, and just remember that we're all figuring out our lives one step at a time. The same older generation people, they are also figuring out their Christian life. It's not easy. So don't for one think that they haven't got up to yet, they don't. So when they offer some advice, use your discernment and take it.
Wow, guys, thank you. Thank you so very much for that. This was such a powerful conversation, and I thank you for real. And
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, for having us.
It was alright. So, saying that to say, guys, this was another episode of Purposed Audacity. Thank you. If you're watching up to this point, I know that the discussion is long.
Yeah. But it was good. It was good and it was juicy. You should still be here. Come on now.
So thank you very much for being here. On this podcast, we do encourage you to walk in purpose, live by faith, and continue to express yourself, based on the Lord's leading. So do your thing, right? Thank you once more, and we'll see you next time on Purposed Audacity. Bye.
You said Purpose Audacity. When you said see you next time, my brain went, this is Grace Space.
Join us weekly. Let's talk about purpose, faith, and expression.
This is Purposed Audacity. Thanks for joining us.